Dusk Miniatures has returned with more tabletop gaming miniatures, and this time they're better than ever. New Elemental Encounters is available now, Amazon.com, link is in the description below. If you saw me review, unbox, and present previous Dusk Miniatures releases and didn't like what you saw, don't go anywhere because the quality has really stepped up a notch, the sculpting skill has stepped up, and as much as I liked the themes of the previous two sets, I think this is going to be their best release yet. And I say this as somebody who, and this may be blasphemous for some of you, does not like the concept of elementals. I don't know if it's maybe just because I've never met an elemental that really rubbed off on me. I'll talk a little bit about that, but right now the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head that I even remotely like are the ones from Hercules, and that's probably because, and I mean Hercules, the Disney movie, the animated one, because I had all of the statuettes, so to speak. I think they were from McDonald's Happy Meals, I don't remember. And I had a ton of fun playing with those with my brother in various floor game settings that we just made up on the fly. This is Elemental Encounters from Dusk Miniatures, and this contains da-da-da-da-da, earth, dun-dun, dun-dun, air, dun-dun. No, wait, fire. Earth, dun-dun, dun-dun, fire, dun-dun-dun, air, water, ice, go, Daggerheart. Oh, you think this is a D&D channel? To unravel the mysteries of these heroes, scan the mythical rune below. Ethan and Jen still sculpting it up, still miniaturizing fantasy. We'll get all of the other stuff out here in a moment to do comparisons and whatnot, but these come in 6 lovely little bags. They're already separated for us by color, so we get the lovely base color of the figurine, so everything's already kind of factioned out for us by element. And you get 2 for the blue, the ice, because our big miniature of this set would be the dragon. And you don't necessarily have to think of the dragon as an ice dragon. I mean, there's what look like icicles or stalagmites or stalactites all over it or whatever. You could paint this and that could really represent anything at all. It doesn't matter. You could paint it black, it could be darkness, be the 6th element, and call these the base 5. But we'll look at all this stuff in greater detail up close soon, like right now. So what are we going to go for first? Well, let's stay true to the song and stick with Earth. Now, I've talked about the quality being better, and I mean that. These are made, I'm guessing, of a different material entirely than the last 2 boxes, because one of my complaints from the last 2 boxes, and I had some complaints, was that the material was actually kind of brittle. Like, you would have stuff that would literally just break. It was the kind of soft sort of resin 3D print type of plastic. And I don't know that the miniatures were 3D printed. They may very well have been injection molded, but whatever the material was, it was brittle and it was not very bendy and it was just very flaky, and the details with which the miniatures were sculpted were small and proved to be a bit more compromising to their structural integrity. This time we have the lovely, wonderful perfection that is injection molding, and we know this because we've got the nubs where these have been cut off of their sprues, their trees. We're looking at an earth warrior wielding a huge hammer. It's a non-classic scale, probably closer to 28 than it is 32, although it should be kind of sort of compatible with whatever 32 millimeter stuff you've got going on. This is an earth lady. I don't know what kind of culture she might be based in, but just to hammer home the point I made about brittle plastics, this is much more bendy. This stuff is not going to break on you. Now, that's not to say that you can't 3D print something that's this strong. I recently bought some miniatures from Gen Con, and they were obviously resin printed, but the gentleman took one and threw it on the ground for me to showcase that it was printed with a material that was very, very sturdy once it was cured. And I liked that, so I bought them. We have a lovely living stalagmite. Actually, love this concept very much. And it's easy to hide it away in your dungeon. You can have that facing the wall when the heroes walk by if they're not searching for traps or making perception checks or whatever people do in TTRPGs. It turns around and then the visual element is very striking. This is just going to arrest all of your players at the board. Now, this is the kind of thing I would have expected to be in this pack, because this is very much the style of weird miniature that Ethan likes to make over at Dusk. But even this type of miniature is more well done than normal. Like, there's more detail on here. There's a lot more charm. There's a lot more playfulness. I'm going to clean the lens of my phone. The focus hunting drives me nuts too, but I'm just not going to do a manual focus and leave everything blurry. Actually, you know what? I will do that. I will do that. And somebody out there complained once, Actually, 2 people did. We're going to do that. Now, no more focus hunting. We'll try this. This is going to be a first for HeroQuest. I have to hold the miniatures exactly a certain distance away so that you can see them super clearly. This is a strange one. It's like ooze that rose up out of the ground, but it's in the earth collection. Yeah, I don't know about this one. And this would be the elemental of the group for me, the one that would come out of the ground to represent the rock monster of all time. Yeah, the one that is either for you or against you. Definitely super sturdy. You could throw him across the room. You know what? I changed my mind about the manual focus. Every time I look at my screen, it's blurry. I can't stand it. All 5 of the elements come with their own treasure chest as well. So you get the earth treasure chest. Doesn't have to be any particular kind of treasure chest, but it does look like it's made of rock, lending itself to the theme. So if you want to attach a sort of goal to your 5 elements pack and say that as your heroes are traversing through whatever the scenario is, they have to find the mystical treasures. Yeah, this is going to work perfectly for that. They're small treasure chests, but they come on circular bases, so I don't know if that's a plus or a minus for you, but those are the Earth miniatures, 7 in total. We're going to set this guy aside. We're going to set the treasure chest aside, because that's going to be a common theme with these packs. Let's go next into Fire, but you probably want to see shots of these guys kind of in action on the ground here, and so there you have it. They look really cool, right? See what I mean? Closer to 28 than 32. We've got the 32mm HeroQuest scale mini on the left, Orc from HeroQuest on the right, our Dusk is in the middle. When it comes to scale, as I've said many times in the past, you can kind of BS your way through things because ultimately you've got to be kind of picky to be picky, I guess, is where I'm going with this next statement. But this literally isn't going to matter with everybody. It's just going to be some people. It's one of the things that matters to me, though. I can't stand having miniatures on my board that are not in scale with each other. I like having all my minis be 32mm if I'm playing a 32mm game, or 28mm if I'm playing 28. I like for them to be heroic if they're going to be in a setting where the base game has heroic miniatures. You can just say that this particular lady is from a slightly smaller race of people, but I mean, now you're just kind of playing with lore to justify scale, and is that really worth it? Well, it is if you say so. Not really a complaint, just an observation. Let's keep moving. We have Fire Monk. Well, not really a monk. He's got a big flaming sword. So Fire Monk with sword. I was about to switch tracks and then I just doubled down. He's a monk. You have literal flames. You can just use this as fire. Doesn't have to be anything alive, or it can be sentient, that's fine too, but a bonfire is always nice. I always appreciate a good bonfire in my miniatures. We have a lady. She is a type of fire magic wielder. She can literally throw fireballs. She has 2 swords, and this is where I would say, yeah, I'm thinking the sculptor has definitely increased in skill. The details are not lost on the face. I can see the face very clearly. I can see the lines in the clothing clearly, the way that the greaves stop at the knee, the texture in the back of the whatever that part of the outfit is called. I want to default to loincloth, but that's not correct. And here's the cutesy monster of the bunch. I'm gonna guess that there's gonna be one of these in every group. The cutesy little angry dude. Look at him, he's so angry. I'm actually going to arrange these a little bit differently because I'm noticing, I think, a theme. We have serious guy, serious lady, little silly dude, part of the terrain itself. All right, this one's a little bit difficult for me to understand. It seems to be a kind of a badass looking witch, undead sorcerer, not sure, but it's skeletal remains coming out of a fire, hair in flames, or perhaps there is a measure of horns involved. I suppose it could be whatever you want it to be, but this is another one that I would say, oh no, it's gonna break. If it was in the old material, this is not going to break. It is sturdy and it's got a little bit of bend to it, so not brittle. Really, really like this. We'll continue to complement it. The base is a little bit bigger and some of the bases do vary just a teensy bit in size, but this guy is gonna go here. He's the monster with the misshapen base of the pack, and our elemental here. And our treasure chest here. The treasure chest for the fire, well, it's literally on fire. So I don't know if you want to make this a trapped chest, I would actually always make this a trapped chest. It's an obviously trapped chest. There's fire on it. It is on fire. It's a flame. But that could be normal. It doesn't mean that the treasure chest is going to burn away. It is simply afflicted with this elemental magic of this realm, and so all of the chests are going to have this fire motif. And perhaps this isn't even anything that's going to harm your heroes. They're just going to open it so long as they have the ability to open the fiery chest. Next, we have the actual elemental itself, a huge beast. This is where the scale no longer matters because you don't really have a point of reference. This is just a creature, right? It's just some dude. Hulking arms, huge hands. And here is the lineup of our fire set. I actually really appreciate that they are consistent with the other miniatures so far in terms of like theme, size, shape. Da-da-da, earth, fire, wind, air. We go with air next. I am Ash. This is HeroQuest. I'm very partial to this color. I don't know if it's going to mimic exactly what it is in real life on the camera. I think it is very, very close. I really like this color. There's something very soothing about this, and I think it's the perfect color to evoke this cloudland imagery. Let's go ahead and show you the people first. And I'm kind of wondering if it's more effective just to get you on the ground here. Yeah, this is much better. We're learning things in this episode here on HeroQuest. Camera on the ground to show static imagery of the figurines. This one's got what looks like a lightning. That's lightning magic coming out of their hand. At least that's how I interpret it. There is a self bow at their side. They're like a winged rogue, while the male appearance counterpart does not seem to be very roguish. They have a lot of lightning, or perhaps that is, a bolt coming out of a physical object. It kind of looks like it could be maybe a hammer. They could be like a lightning priest or a wind priest. I'm just making stuff up. This is not necessarily rooted in any sort of reality. It's time for the silly little dude of this particular elemental pack. There it is. There's the face. I love it. I love it. I've only had it for 5 minutes, but if anybody takes it from me, I will roll all skulls against everyone in the room and then myself. Goodbye, slime on cloud. I will protect you with my life. They're just getting better and better. Okay, time for the actual part of scenery that would come with this element. This is just a tornado. It's a little dust devil, actually. Not a huge deal at all. Something you could probably manifest in your game and then have your characters fight. That's fine. It's got a set amount of body points or wounds or hit points, and that could be representative of its ability to stay cyclonic, cyclopean. There's actually a bit of a detail. It's got a face. It's got a little sort of frowny face on it. A little bit of a hidden glare. It's kind of cute, but you can definitely see that it's intentional. And maybe more than one face. Kind of got two interpretable faces. I wonder if the fire had a face that I was just missing. Yeah, I'm gonna say no, but it does look like there's a tongue sticking out of a mouth right there. It doesn't connect the detail. But at this point, I'm thinking there probably is a face hidden in that mess. I'm just not seeing it because now I'm seeing faces on everything. There's a name for that, right? The actual elemental of the pack is a tornado. It is jacked. It definitely has not skipped arm day, and the arms are kind of like on backwards, so that makes it pretty creepy. The plus side to this is actually that these can be moved upside down, which I would not question this being the correct orientation for the miniature, despite the correctedness of the anatomy in the arms and the supposed face that appears on what would be the bottom half of the tornado elemental. But it does work so well that I have to think that it was intentional for this miniature to be used either way. But I think that this is definitely a correct way to orient it as well, because you can see the swirly detail in the miniature, whereas if you flip it upside down, you can see the flat, detailless base. But still, both of these work for me. So you can also use the Dust Devil in the same manner, in which the base now looks like windswept emo hair. You need to grow up to be a real tornado, son. It's not just a cold front, Dad. This is why I'm always listening to my meteorological romance. Meteorological? It feels like they really get me. Why can't you be like your brother, Scott? Thanks, Dad. No problem, son. And now we have the more humanoid being that is fused with the elements. You know, I'm wondering, because I stuck with the rock pack first, got that unboxed, that has a sort of humanoid merged with the mud, but I mean, God, it is the most monstrous of all, so I was not seeing a trend with this whatsoever, but the fire and wind definitely have you covered. I like the details on this one probably more than any of the other ones. I just like its look. It's got a nice protective look about it. Sequence a little bit there, but let's look at the treasure chest. This one is trapped with a little cloud. The little cloud's name is Billy. Gently blow away the Billy cloud and you can get the treasure. But if you open the chest before you disarm the trap, it might rain on you just a little bit. The rain will be yellow. Next up is water. Okay, things are about to get a little bit weird. First up, we got the dudes, and this is a hammerhead dude. And I mean, yeah, he's literally part shark. I don't know what class this is. I don't know what race this is, but I mean, I'm here for it. Shark dudes are awesome. He may not be a street shark, but and he may not be the shark from Suicide Squad, and he may not be the shark character from the Savage Dragon back in the 90s. And he may not be Jaws. Moving on, we have like a jellyfish princess for the other humanoid character, and I'm kind of all about it. Like, why is she actually pretty? I don't know what quest line we have to do to appease the jellyfish people, but my services are yours, ma'am. Love the corals details at the base. It's funky little dude time, and this might be my least favorite funky little dude. He's actually coming up out of the water. He's made of water drops rather than being something that manifests in the water, and that's fine because all these dudes are just like little dudes that, I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? Let's just move on. I'm upsetting him. For our elemental piece, we have Coral. Yes, Coral. Him and his father, Rick Grimes, are going to go fight zombies. All right, this one I was convinced I had the wrong way, or I didn't have it on its base for a while, and like I kept adjusting it, but no, this is the correct way, and this is not a humanoid. This is like a water horse. This is like a Kelpie almost of legend, but I really like this sculpt. I really love how it's coming up out of the waves. The pose is super dynamic. The look is mystical. There's not too little detail on here. There's definitely not too much, but the water is portrayed wonderfully. The dynamic of the waves coming up as it comes out of whatever pool you have in your lore is just wonderfully done. And next up, we've got the elemental of this pack, and probably, I'm gonna say, the one that's got the most creative liberties taken with it for sure. We have these huge shells acting as pauldrons for it, a face only a cuttlefish could love, the wavy details indicating that its body is made up of some kind of water that is being held together magically or elementally. It's probably the same thing, really. And crab claws. Yes, crab claws. Or lobster, I suppose, making this the one elemental that has a bit of flavor. All right, our last pack before we get to the dragon is going to be the ice pack. And since I've recognized the convention of 7 miniatures per pack, yes, the dragon is going to be a part of all of this because we have 7 miniatures. No, wait, I forgot the chest. The chest is really nice. It's pretty. There's corals coming up around it. It's a lovely color. It's the same color as all of the other water elemental pack stuff, but yeah, really like that chest. Love the sculpts of the chests. But there are 6 in the ice pack, which means the dragon would be the 7th, which means it is definitely part of this. And I mean, yeah, same color, so what clued you in, Ash? But I was thinking you could separate it, but that would actually break convention if you were to do that. Let's work backwards this time, somewhat. We've got the ice chest. Just lots of ice covering this thing. I would not want to try to get into this. I don't like being cold. I don't like cold fingers. Skip the dragon because it would be the most exciting thing to see. This would be like the humanoid elemental, just like our creatures in this column. This is a Yeti and it looks really cool. Well, I'm just kind of projecting that that's what it is. This is actually a cooler sculpt than what Avalon Hill gave us for the Frozen Horror Yeti. I'm not going to lie, but that is kind of a low bar. I'm just really not a fan of that sculpt for the Yeti in that expansion. But this one, curved horns, bulky frame, dynamic pose, everything about it is cool. No pun intended. We've got the piece of scenery come to life. This one's a little bit more direct than the other ones. It's a little bit more libertis in its design. That's not a word. Libertis. It's a little bit more libre in its design. Forget it. I don't want to spend forever editing, so that's now going to be a word. It's in your dictionary. You're too lazy to go look it up, so you can't prove me wrong. This thing has come out of nowhere. It's a bit headless. It's saying I'm part of the ice, and now I'm going to beat you up, and it goes in this column. Next up, we've got our funky little dude category, and this is the funkiest dude of all. His face framed by tufts of fur. He's got little goblin, gremlin type teeth. He's got horns coming out. He's got ears coming out. He's so funny. He's just sitting here chilling. How could you ever want to hurt him? You can't. You objectively won't. You would never bring yourself to do so. I'm a fan of patterns and design convention, at least when things are being established for the first time. Don't know what that says about me, but it's nice that there's finally a pattern being established with an Under Dusk Miniatures release, because I don't think that there was one kind of like this at all before. Continuing to move on, we see our humanoids. This one is basically Rita Repulsa from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Here for it, love her. Then we've got a character that looks very much inspired by Fire and Ice. No, not a Song of Ice and Fire. Then in reverse order, we'll get a good look at them in all their shadowy goodness on this wavery focus hunting phone, before finally moving on to the biggest, baddest elemental in the whole pack, the dragon. And this would be an ultimate test of like, is it going to break? Is it brittle? And I mean, no part of it is. It's fine. It's very toy worthy. So bang for your buck, this is the best pack from Under Dusk Miniatures. Theme-wise, you can use these guys in so many different ways. You can use most of the pack kind of no matter what you're going for with your games. If you have to leave out one particular element because you don't like the theme, say the water, for example, you can do that. The rest of it's all highly usable. I kind of don't care what theme you're going for. You're going to find some use in at least some of the treasure chests. These border on almost not being compatible with the other Under Dusk miniature lines because they are so much better than them. So is this going to make me sort of a fan, a believer in elementals? Well, I can talk a little bit about that now. I think my issue is that there's not really like a singular public domain source that we draw upon to inspire our elementals as we seem to conjure up in so many different works of media. And people are very, very creative with what that means, and the designers of whatever take a lot of liberties to make their own thing, and that's great. Ultimately, it might kind of be a contest as to who can make the coolest tornado man, or who can make the most threatening looking rock monster, and there's your elemental of whatever RPG it is you're playing. But, and I'm not complaining at all, this is just my own creative process at work here, and my own observations again, and my own preferences doing the talking now. I think because this reminds me so much of the Disney's Hercules elementals, I'm actually thinking they might have been called Titans in the cartoon. I'm not remembering now, clearly. I like them though. They kind of draw on that nostalgia factor a little bit. Still not my preferred way to showcase what the elements can do, or maybe I just don't like the idea of relegating an entire convention around the idea of elements. Like, I like elements as an abstract. I like elemental magic for sure. But now, on the flip side of that, I will tell you how I would introduce elements in a game that I was developing. And I would probably heavily draw on the Mana series, Secret of Mana being a prime influence for how I would probably prefer to treat my elemental creations. I would simply draw from different cultures that had sort of spirits or deities that were strongly associated with just the element. And Secret of Mana does this in a kind of not disrespectful way, but a way that definitely just disregards commonality between the hosts of the elements. So for their water, they have Undine. And Undine is who you call upon to strengthen your weapons or cast spells, all related to water in the Mana series. And for fire, it's Salamander. And Salamander's a type of lizard, right? But in the Mana games, it is a fiery lizard. There are others too. For some reason, Gnome gets all of the earth stuff, all the rock stuff. That's Gnome. And I'm not remembering at all what the other ones were, but I played Secret of Mana religiously when I was younger, so I'm kind of ashamed that I don't remember. I used to know all of them. Air was Sylph. That was the other important one to me. So Sylph and Undine were like my favorite, and I loved that they were represented that way. And now we have like our own total mythologies we can draw on from respective cultures. Which, I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with having your elementals being big and bad. I'm just talking about what my favorite kind are. Most of the time when I see elementals in various media, though, they're going to look kind of bulky, kind of like this. And I think that's just because we don't really have a form a prime elemental that we all harken back to and draw our inspirations from. And for some people and their creations, that can be a beautiful thing, a great thing. And for others, it can be a challenge that can definitely be rewarding if you meet it. I think it was met well here in this pack. And again, excellent job to Ethan and Jen this time around, or Saren the Sorceress and Duskaris the Druid. With the previous packs, we had situational minis, we had ambivalence about the future of the brand. This gives me hope. This makes me think, wow, this is really something to keep an eye on because they make really cool stuff. And that's it, Brave Heroes. So I thank you very much for watching. I want to thank Jen and Ethan for sponsoring the product that we showed in this video today. It was very, very kind of Dusk Miniatures. Worry not though, none of that will ever influence my opinion. You're getting the actual raw feeling from me whenever I look at anything on this channel. But enough about me, let's talk about you and your thoughts, and how your thoughts would be greatly valued in the comments below. And if you wished to join the community of the Ashen Victors, the Ashbringers, the Turash, I don't know what we call ourselves, what do you call yourselves? Then you can join the Discord in the link below by becoming a YouTube member or a patron. Just the one time, and then you're in for good. Thank you, Brave Heroes. I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, onward. Farewell for now.